Hey, this is Scott Morgan of morganstudios.com, and today we're going to talk about harmonizing a melody. And before I get started, I just want to mention two things. One is that I totally encourage you to go out and look for your favorite tune on YouTube or on Google or whatever website of your choice, live.com, and find instructions on how to play those songs. You'd be surprised at how many tunes are out there with instructions on how to play them. For this example, I'm going to be doing another rendition of Mary Had a Little Lamb, just because that tune is very easy to pick up and very easy to explain the harmonization of and that kind of thing. And the other thing I wanted to mention before we get started is that what I'm about to show you are just guidelines. And I think that goes for all music theory and all rules in art, really. They're just guidelines to help you find the sound that you like faster. But if you come up with something that breaks those rules and you think it sounds good, then it does sound good. So don't be bound by these or feel constricted by what I'm showing you. Okay, and with that, I'm going to explain the difference between melody and accompaniment. Basically, the two are opposites. So when I talk about a melody, I'm talking about the part that is singable in a song. So when you're playing piano, the melody is most often in the right hand, which plays the higher notes, and the accompaniment is in the left hand. So in the videos I've been doing, we've been focusing a lot on accompaniment by learning chords and octaves and rhythmic patterns that play under your melody. But so just to give a demonstration, I'm going to play Mary Had a Little Lamb with accompaniment in the left hand and melody in the right hand. So the melody part of that obviously was, and the accompaniment was. So how would you go about figuring out chords for the melody? This is what we call harmonizing the melody, or one way of harmonizing the melody. You basically break down the melody into parts. So I'm going to take the first part of the melody, which is E, D, C, D, E, E, E. And there's a couple different things you pay attention to. One is just which notes are you playing the most. Well, in this case, I would say that it's the E. E, 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 E. Another is what's the highest and lowest note. So in this case, it's the E and the C. And the third thing is which notes are accented. So if you were to tap a beat, remember we were talking about rhythm in the last one, the beat would be like this, and Mary Had a Little Lamb is in eighth notes. So the things that land on the beat tend to be the things that are more accented. C, E, E. So again, E, C, E, E. And the D's were in between. So definitely here the C and the E are things that are emphasized in this first melody fragment. So what you want to do if you're and this is what I recommend you work on right now, is just using all white notes and sticking to triads. I mean, if you want to branch out, you can, but this is going to be the easiest thing to handle right now. You've already got two notes of your triad. You've got the remember, a triad is three notes, skipping each note in between. So we're skipping the D and we're playing these three notes. So really we've already got two notes of a triad, and it's just a matter of what the third note is. So we could go up and play the C triad based off this C, or we could go down and grab this A here and have an A triad. And I mean, there's ways of figuring out which chord is going to be best for your melody, but right now it's really not that hard to just try all the possibilities. So let's start with the A. I'm going to play it down here in my left hand. A, C, E. So that doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't really sound like the way Mary Had a Little Lamb sounds. It sounds kind of sad when Mary Had a Little Lamb is more of a happy tune. Let's try the other one, which is the C, E, G, or C triad. And that works a lot better. Okay, so the next part of the melody is just this. And that's all D's. So since there's 3 notes in a triad, you're going to have 3 options. First is obvious, you just start with the note that you're playing. So we could play D, skip a note, to F, skip another note, and get an A. So let's play all that together. I'm going to go back to the C for the first part. Sounds pretty good. Let's see what the other options sound like. Okay, so that was starting with the note that's in the melody. We could also go both directions. We could go one up, skipping the E, and we could go one down, skipping the C. And I don't know if you remember I mentioned this before, but actually using all white notes, the triad starting at the B is probably the least pleasant sounding chord of all the triads starting off white notes. That's what we call diminished. We'll go into that later. But anyway, you could try that out. You could do that. But let's try out the last option here. And that would be to just, instead of going up or spreading both directions, let's just go down. So skip a note, grab a B, skip another note, and here we have a G triad, G, B, D. So let's try that out. There we go. I think that one sounds the best. So the next thing is E, G, G. So there's only 2 notes there. So I think we should... And again, they skip a note. So it's the same thing as before. We can go up, skip the A, have a B. Or we can skip down. Oh, that's the C chord. That's the one we were just using a second ago. Well, that's another thing that can help you choose which chord. Is just a lot of times it's better to repeat the same ones and make a more consistent sound, or sometimes it's better to choose something new. We could try both. I think in this case it's going to be better to repeat. Here's with the E minor. That's got a kind of cool sound actually. So I used the one starting with the 2 notes we had, and then here's with the C. That sounds more traditional. They both sound pretty good, so it's just a matter of taste. And then we basically do it again. The melody repeats the same kind of thing. So I'm just going to automatically use the same chords. And then the next part goes... So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to treat this as one fragment. And then the last note I'm going to put a separate chord on. So this part is... all of it's a D except for one note. We basically just have what we call a neighboring tone. So I would pick the same chord that we did before for D, which is the G. And then it's going to make a lot of sense to go back to C, especially for the last note. If you change it all of a sudden on the last note, it's going to sound really weird. So this is our home chord, because I haven't explained keys yet, but this is basically C major, and so we want to end on a C major chord. So altogether it sounds like this. And that's it. Thank you.